Welcome to Figure Skating Land. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. This week, I'm going to be talking about the Grand Prix final as well as figure skating news. Y'all, it would not be an event in France without bizarre camera work. They take the film students, they put them and have them filming this whole event for us. I mean, we don't need to know how the lift went. We don't need to see the feet during the step sequence. We don't need to know if the jump was completed. We need to see faces, apparently. Overall, this event was very delightful. It had, some surprises, which we'll get into, amazing sportsmanship, and unfortunately, there were some withdrawals. So there was Deanna and Max, and Adam saw him fall. And we definitely missed him there, but also we got the addition of Rebecca and Filippo in pairs, which, they only had 1 week to figure out that, oh, we're going to go to this event. And then Mikhail, which we got to see. And it was really cool seeing, someone from a small federation getting to come to this. But also, they got these adorable Christmas trees. The winners did. And that made me happy. And it was really funny to hear Ted and Mark trying to talk about, like, oh, how do they get it home? But that was awesome. So let's get to it. Right. So for the pairs event, as many of you all know, Deanna Stellato-Dudek and Maxime Deschamps had to withdraw due to an illness. I think Max was ill, and some news had said that they attempted to skate and it just wasn't going well for them. So they ultimately decided to withdraw. There were some rumors that possibly they may be trying to rework programs or do that. But also reports have said that Deanna has adamantly confirmed no, they were ill or he was ill. And in first place was Minerva Hase and Nikita Volodin. Second place was Riku Miura and Ryuichi Kihara. And in third place was Anastasia Makinia and Luca Berlu. And I apologize if I butchered any of the names. It's really hard sometimes. I'll go and try to search for the names, and people pronounce them so different. And I try very hard. So please let me know and I will fix it. So with the pairs event overall, the short programs seemed to be a lot cleaner. I think once they got to the free program, I don't know if there were nerves for everyone in general almost, or if it is, a product of all the requirements that are done this year, but it was still an exciting event, and it wasn't menning as much as I thought, or maybe we're just kind of used to a splash of menning during pairs lately. There was a couple surprises. Sara Conti and Nicola Monchi. I expected them to maybe come in third place here. They came in fourth because of their free program. And other than that, the Japanese versus Germans, they could either go either way, I felt like, first or second. So that wasn't too big of a shock here. Oh, and before I forget, at some point, I hilariously, in a sleepy state, referred to a lift as a 4x4 lift, and I can't find the clip that I did it, but I know that I did it. So please do not judge me. I do not know why the level 4 in my head just immediately thought that is a 4x4 lift. It's not a four-wheeler, but just know I'm not an idiot. In first place, Minerva Hase and Nikita Volodin from Germany. This pair, I think, just keeps improving in their chemistry. They already have the technical aspect down, though there's some that say they lack transitions, but I'm not a pairs expert. So that is something I'm going to keep watching to see what people mean, because it's definitely been either pair skaters that have mentioned it or people who have been following pair skating much longer than I have. Besides that, I think they're on fire, they're on point. I think their chemistry is just getting so in sync with one another. And they've just been exciting to watch. Like, they've always been, when it comes to Grand Prix, winning. But I really think that they are still showing that they are a force to be reckoned with. For their short program, I believe this is probably the best that they have done. And this isn't even in terms of technical skills. This is probably the best they've done with musicality for their short program. They had everything down to the facial expressions, especially Minerva. She really put on a show, especially when she did that face during the lift. I was like, "Cool, yeah." And then Mark had mentioned, I think it was Mark or Ted, one of them had mentioned that, she was, like, sassy during I was like, "Yeah." I was like, they are really, putting effort into syncing better together, but also just doing more than just kinda going through the jumps and the throws. Like, you can just see that they're working on the PCS aspect of their programs. For their free program, like everyone else, they seemed a little nervy. They held it together probably the best out of everyone. There were, just a lot of tight landings, and there was a hands down on a double axle sequence. One thing I thought was interesting though is despite her putting the hands down, they somehow were amazingly in sync. Like usually you see the mistake and people can't hold it together. Like one will keep going, but it's almost as if they've practiced, like, how do we screw something up and still stay in sync together? And I feel like she was fighting hard on everything, like the triple loop. I think as the program went on, the nerves may have settled a bit because it became more, technically sound, and you just didn't have this like nervousness, like, oh my gosh, they're not going to they're not going to be able to do well. I think, like I mentioned earlier, they were getting very well about just their chemistry with one another. And it was also really cute in the kiss and cry. Like someone had pointed this out, I think it was on Reddit, how he would kind of match her body language and her reactions to their win. So I thought that was completely precious. So this was an awesome win for them. And coming in second place was Riku Mahara and Ryuichi Kihara. Their short program was a hit for them. Their free program just, had some mistakes in it. I was really pleased to see that during an interview that they had talked about how at least they were able to fight hard in the second part of that program. Because usually I feel kind of bad when I see them when they make mistakes because you can tell they're beating themselves up. So I think that was a wonderful reframe there. And for Riku and Raichi's short program, it was so amazingly done. I cannot wait to see this at Worlds. Like, I found myself actually tearing up at their program, and I don't know why. Like, it was just so amazing. They just looked so on fire, like ready to attack. And like, there were times that where she broke character a little bit, I noticed, and it was just her smiling, endearing self. But still, like, they just are on fire during this program. And, like, I didn't even notice there was that under rotation because I was just so amped up. And so when the score came out, I must admit I shouted, "What?" Then cue the dogs barking. And even my husband's like, "Oh, now could be a time for you to film because you're fired up." I'm like, "No, it's just I didn't notice there was the under rotation because I just love this program so much. And I cannot wait to see it in Boston. And I hope it's on fire like that during then. It's just, they were remarkable. And then you see Bruno tearing up like, that, I had teared up before then, so then I teared up more, like, this just makes me so happy that they were able to perform this program like that, like, it is on fire, I can't wait to see it, it's gonna be epic, and I'm going to, like, where I'm gonna be seated, hopefully I don't get caught on camera because I know I'm gonna be smiling, like, ridiculously nerdy during this. As for their free program, as I mentioned earlier, it didn't go well, and I, have read conflicting things online. One article, they had said that they had no injuries, but of course, it may have been worded like we had no injuries that would have caused us to withdraw. Though they had mentioned to the Golden Skate that the injury is better, and I tried to find what this injury is, and I think I just need to do like a deeper dive. At the start of their program, they opened up with the beautiful triple twist lift, and then they made a mistake with the double toe loop sequence. She fell on the throw loop, and then there was like this scoot to it. They did do beautiful side by side triple sow cows that were just beautifully in sync. It's funny, like one of my notes says, camera's only focused on her because it's France. Oh, camera's focused on her. And it just makes that part just makes me laugh at how many times I wrote that out. But there was some mistake in the throw luts, but like they had mentioned, once the program progressed, they did seem to get better. And they didn't seem to beat themselves up as much as I mentioned earlier, although I did read another article where they did say they skated unacceptable, but it does feel like they were able to move on. And so they have Japanese nationals coming up in a couple weeks. And then We will, fingers crossed, barring no injuries, see them at Worlds. In third place, Anastasia Matakina and Luca Berlavia. This was overall a good outing for them. They did have uncharacteristic mistakes in the free program, but still they show that they are technically sound, and I do think that they are also improving their performance aspect and musicality, and they seem to be very much in sync. As for Anastasia and Luca's short program, I had to actually kind of laugh because I was a little bit amused. I was sitting there thinking, like, God, I hate this song. Why I hate this style. I hate it. But there's still like their technical stuff's pretty awesome. And then Mark brings up, kind of regardless of opinion of music and how I feel about the style, think about how they perform the elements. And that just made me laugh because it was almost like in sync to completely what I was thinking. Like, I absolutely love their twists and throws. Like, if I just kind of take out the cheesiness a bit of the program, which is funny because you'll hear me like love other cheesy programs. I don't know what it is about this one. Like, their twists and throws are huge. Like, it is their strength majorly. And they were also in perfect unison up until probably around the end. When I saw their like side by side triple south cows, they were just nearly perfectly timed with one another. And also, I could have sworn I saw a Terry in the very beginning, but then like she ghosted herself. I didn't see her again. I don't know if I just imagined it. Did I just hallucinate the Terry? I don't know. But she wasn't in the kiss and cry with them during the short program. For their free program, I, for the longest time, did not know what the theme was. In fact, I have in my notes, oh, he's shaking again. Oh, have we ever had the hood explained to us? Possibly Grim Reaper. So, but luckily, an unsung hero reportedly reached out to the person who created the program. And here is the explanation. She touches him, he dies, and all his life flashes before him, but backwards. His vision comes back, and then she touches his ear, and the hearing does too. He gets even younger. He's a businessman, remembers becoming a dad, proposing, going to a university, being a young boy. The message is maybe our life starts with death. Maybe death is your guardian angel that keeps you safe throughout your life because she knows you've got to leave only when your time comes. Well, alrighty. So they were in perfect sync for their side by side triple toe loops. Before that, though, there was an uncharacteristic mistake during a double axle sequence. I keep wondering, like, is parts of this program changing, or is maybe like my ability to always stay in tune with it, part of like an ADHD fest? Like, it just, every time I watch, there seems to be something different. And I don't know if it's me or if it's them or if it's a combination. Either way, even though this program can have some like lull parts and can be somewhat difficult to always stay in tune with just because the music and has an interesting yet strange theme that we don't quite know. It is very technically sound, except for, of course, those mistakes. Something about this pair in general are their throws. Usually their throws are just so amazing, like just huge. And so that is something that like I do kind of hope to see in person because I'm just wondering like how massive and amazing they are in real life. And with this pair, they are very versatile. Like you think about their short program and their free program, just two completely different concepts. And coming in fourth place was Sara Conti and Nicolai Monti. And so this was probably the first Grand Prix where they haven't been overwhelmed with excitement based on the results. So, they've medaled as the last two ones. This is still a good result, though. Yeah, they didn't medal, but this is fourth place. And it's just even remarkable to get to this level. They just had so many mistakes in the free program that it would have been nearly impossible to come back from. And to be honest, I'm surprised that they got in fourth, but we'll get into more details about that when I discuss their free program. As for Sara and Niccolo's short program, I really feel like every team here, was really working on their musicality. Like, I had noticed kind of the certain touches they had during this program in the past, but something about it this final, like, it really stood out to me. I think what really actually maybe made it click with me is when they when she on the throw landed on both feet, but she still had to go with the music. I was like, oh my gosh, it almost looks like that was part of the whole bit here. And so they do a really amazing job of selling Carmen and even making like Carmen can feel kind of stale since we've heard it for years. But it's also still interesting kind of hanging our backstory and how Carmen comes out so well here. But it was overall such a good short program for them. Their free program from the start, Niccolo seemed very nervous and maybe just high energy because he looked shaky from the very beginning. Like that initial lift that he did, I got a little nervous. And then he was very shaky on that triple twist, fell on the sow cow, just the whole thing. It just oozed nervous energy that he couldn't quite come back from. And actually, I'm surprised that their PCS was higher in this than Ellie and Danny because I felt like just their overall performance was really, it was just really difficult to stay in tune to the actual program. But I mean, that could be the psychologist in me. But I just felt like it was very kind of almost disruptive, just the shakiness and nerves to the point that I thought, there's no way this can go above Ellie and Danny. Like they, of course, made mistakes too, but they were still able to put on a performance. And I really like this team. So just nothing against this team. I just felt like this performance was definitely uncharacteristic and wasn't great for them. And I felt like maybe it should have been scored to that level. But, they're probably going to regroup and we'll see them at Worlds. And even though I don't like the Papa Can You Hear Me, I do like this team. So I do want to see them in person. And coming in fifth was Ellie Cam and Danny O'Shea from America. And so this was overall, it was a good outing for them. They are continuing to show improvements. Yeah, their free program wasn't perfect, but overall, this is a huge step compared to last year. And they're still kind of a fairly new pair, to be honest. And there's a lot of discussions about how America is preparing them to be the pairs in the team event in the Olympics. And so that is exciting, but also I hope that doesn't really get to them. But honestly, they are improving so much that I think they're starting to develop nerves of steel. Unfortunately, in Danny and Ellie's short program, they had that one mistake on the step out of the throw triple loop, but she didn't fall. And she fought really hard on that landing. And I think this was the one time where I appreciated the bizarre French camera takes because it was right before that actually. And Mark had even pointed out the transition. And I have seen the transition, but usually the camera angle is not that close. And that's when I really kind of got to see how intricate it was. So I just thought that was really neat. And I also can see, because in the past when I've watched, I don't even know what that entrance is called. I'll just be 100% honest. I always figured of it as I'm lifting her and getting ready to throw her in type of transition. If there's a name for it, please comment and let me know. Because for now, it's going to be the lifty transition to throw type of entrance. But in the past, it seems like he's done it kind of almost too fast. And I can see him slowing down. So it seems like they're both really working at making these throws work. And even though she had that step out, it was still a positive to me that she didn't fall and that she really fought hard. And I think they're just getting in better unison with one another. And they're even like better sync. Like they still don't have chemistry, which is probably fine considering their ages. But they do have this is gonna sound bizarre, like a brother and sister chemistry. So as long as they don't do any like romantic programs, I think I can settle for this. For their free program, I was surprised because Tanny actually fell on the side by side triple toes. And, historically, she's been the one that struggles with the jumps, but she managed, to get through it. She landed the throw triple lutz, and that was so exciting because I know that's something that they've mentioned they've been working on. And there was even a time where she wasn't going to do, I mean, the double axel was like squeaked out, and she fought so hard through it. And one thing that felt different, from their mistakes compared to the Italians that I just discussed is they still put on this beautiful performance that didn't, so the mistakes really didn't detract from anything. They still had the beautiful lifts, they still had amazing musicality. And this pair overall, I think kind of the age difference I'm getting used to. And it's really kind of fun because my husband, he doesn't watch figure skating that much. I just had to drag him to an event. But he does seem to, enjoy pairs and ice dance from like a entertainment level. And he was like, that kind of seems like a coach student relationship. And one thing he did point out is, Danny does give like these reassuring smiles, which I think, oh my gosh, I didn't even watch me already talk. See, I've recorded the short program stuff before. So it's gonna be funny if I already talked about this, but whatever. I never thought about how that is an interesting tactic. Like he gives her this reassurance, and that probably helps ease her whenever there's any kind of mistakes. And so we shall see kind of how nationals goes. Likely, they're going to rise to the top, barring any major mistakes. And then we'll see them at Boston as well, hopefully. And in sixth place was Rebecca Gilardi and Filippo Ambrosini. So this was, I feel like, a really positive outing for them, even though their free program wasn't that great, because they only had a week to prepare. They just had just found out literally they were coming to this event. Like I think I read that they had to pack and basically leave. So this was positive for them just because they were able to put something out there because they had originally thought that their next performance would be at nationals. And it's like, boom, never mind, you're going to a major big event. What an amazing short program for Rebecca and Filippo. It was incredibly strong. Like they showed up, they had this attack in their eyes. They looked amazingly prepared despite finding out so quickly about their assignment. Like they opened up this beautiful triple twist. And this is probably one of the first times I've noticed how the difficulty of their 4x4 lift. And I was just like, did they make changes or if I've been inattentive in the past with it? But I think they did really well. And it was really sweet to see them after their skate having their coach tear up. And they had started the short program event by basically setting the stage. Like they're like, we're not going to mend this. And then therefore no one mended. So it was really nice. It was a good cleansing because I had actually watched the women's first, kind of watch these out of order because just kind of the how it was when I turned it on. And so I got to have the joy of having the cleanse after the women mend. So they set the stage and I appreciated it. Their free program felt like you just feel the nerves. Their single axle, double axle, and she just didn't finish it. And they were incredibly out of sync for their sound cows. It just, just felt tense and just honestly awkward. But then towards something the middle to the end of the program, they came back together. They just turned it around. And so it just showed very much resilience that they were able to have such a rocky start to their programs. And then they were able to just, pull it back together. And so hopefully they'll have some time to regroup and rest before nationals. And this was just overall positive for them because, again, they just found out that they would be at this event. As for the women's event, Amber Glenn essentially won Japanese nationals, and she is the first U.S. woman to win the Grand Prix final since 2010 when Alyssa Sisney won. This was just overall a huge accomplishment for her and everyone else as well. And her win led to the most precious, adorable, wonderful sportsmanship thing ever. And then her reaction where she's like, oh, you guys, like, I love it. I love how much these women build each other up. It's just amazing. And in second place was Mone Chiba. Third place was Kaori Sakamoto. Fourth, Wakaba Higuchi. Fifth, Hana Yoshida. And sixth, Rino Matsuike. That last one surprises me, but we'll get it. I mean, we'll just get into it a little bit. And our winner, Amber Glenn, this is such a huge accomplishment for her. How amazing is it that she has won gold, I think, at every competition this season so far, and her scores have been 200 or above. Like, this is just actually someone had mentioned her score has been above, like, it's been at 212 and above this whole time. So, this is an amazing accomplishment for her. And I'm just so excited and just so proud that she is able to show in competition what everyone always talks about how she looks in practice. And so I am just so hopeful that this, will continue. And I think it will. Just, you can just see the grit and the resilience with her this year. I mean, I was lighting so many damn candles. Okay, well, I didn't really light a damn candle, but in my head, I was lighting a million candles. And when she won, I was like in my bed still, crying. The dogs were just like, oh no, what's going on? And my husband, he was like downstairs. And thankfully, he didn't like, either he knew I was watching skating or he just didn't hear me because I thought he's going to think someone like died. But overall, this was just so exciting and such a huge win for Amber and her coach and like America and just everyone. As for Amber Glenn, for her short program, she opened up with the triple axel and there was the lean on it. And she had mentioned that she felt like she was going to fall on her nose after that. And so it made her feel kind of nervous throughout the rest of her program for her jumps, which with her history of concussive injuries, I don't blame her for having that kind of hesitancy while jumping. She also had this, I don't know if she tripped, because at first I'm like, that is the most oddly timed lunge in her program. So it may have been like a trip that looked almost choreographed a little bit, but I'm not 100% sure. And so her triple toe during the combination, it was a landed at a quarter and with the foot down, and even her triple loop just really was tight. Like I do appreciate that it was right on the music when she landed it, but it also looked maybe a little tad under, and I don't believe it was called just from looking at the protocol. So I felt very, very proud of her. I know I've mentioned this a lot on my podcast that, in the past, when she's made mistakes in prior programs, she would just kind of check out of the whole entire program. But this time, even though she'd also apparently injured her back during this or her ribs, she really did continue to put on performance. Like she looked at the crowd while doing her choreographic sequences and her step sequences. So you would have never known that she was injured. And even like as she got through all the rest of the elements, kind of the nerviness seemed to die down a bit. It did break my heart seeing her in the kiss and cry because you could tell she was in so much pain that just getting her score, she tried to, look peppy. She was excited, but just not herself. And for her free program, she opened up with just the most casual, chill, beautiful though, triple axel. And I was very relieved of this because she had leaned on it in the short program. And I thought, oh no, what if this starts to be a thing? But nope, she proved me wrong. And overall, this program, was skated well. She did double the sow cow instead of triple. But it almost seems like it was a really good strategy because it turns out she had fallen on it in practice. And so instead of just simply popping it to a single, she at least doubled it. And so I was proud of her for that. And then was able to kind of go through the rest of the technical elements fine. I do think maybe she was like brought out of the performance a little bit. Towards the end, of course, is when she came to life. But I could see kind of like, okay, we're focused on the technical elements here. But, she wasn't the only one for such an event, focused on that element. And she had actually gone on Instagram and said, I'm in disbelief right now. The imposter syndrome is so real. I've been working so hard, but I know I can do even better. This week, I was very technical, but tired and had to fight really hard. So the performance side was lacking, and there were so many small mistakes. I appreciate all the support and love, and I'll try to respond to stuff soon. So leave it to Amber to be thinking about her fans after, winning the final. This is just so amazing for her. And I think overall, while her programs are not perfect, continues to be a step in the right direction. And this can just, build her confidence some more. I'm just so excited for her. Candles lit for the rest of the year for her. And maybe I will truly light a candle soon. And in second place was Mone Chiba. I absolutely adore this skater. I prefer her free program to her short program. Her short program's fun, but her free program really shows off her skating skills. And overall, this was huge. It's almost like a win for her because she was the first of the unofficial Japanese nationals here to win. For Mone Chiba's short program, I'm actually surprised when I looked at the protocol and saw that she didn't have the highest PCS. I am such an Amber fan and I adore her, but I felt like Mona had skated, even though she also skated a little bit nervy, like I felt like she still had, the performance aspect. So it pretty much surprised me. I mean, it wasn't a huge difference, enough though to where I was still like, that's interesting. So she had opened up in her short program with this beautiful, large triple Lutz, triple toe loop. That's one of the things I just noticed was just how effortless it looked. And then, oh my gosh, when she did the double axel and had that beautiful long running edge, that is something, honestly, I was noticing for like a lot of the Japanese women, just how amazing the exits are out of their double axels. Like, I just can't get over it. And it also felt way more pronounced this time. And so overall, her program was fairly clean. I think she just had like a call, an edge call on her triple Lutz, and her triple flip was a quarter under rotated and quarter rotated. And so, I think what made Amber so ahead in the short program had to, do with the triple axle and likely maybe not some calls on the under rotations. But I've talked about this program a lot already, and I don't want to be redundant, but I find it just a fun program. Like it's like I've said before, I never thought I would enjoy these type of programs, but it was charming, and she's just so endearing. I absolutely love her free program. Her free program. I mean, I didn't even give you like a build up for it. I didn't even say like because I just love it. It is so balletic, so beautiful, so elegant. Just everything down to her arm placement. I'm pretty sure she's the one that caused me to wake my cat up in the NHK video because it was just like, oh yeah, and there's this when talking about her. It's just a masterpiece. And I know she got like a Q on the South Cow and a couple of the edge calls, but to me it was perfect. And she should have had higher PCS. And I adore Amber, but I think, her PCS should have been higher than Amber's just because the musicality, the performance, the deep edges, the knee bend, the glide was just even like she has everything down to like her shoulder and arm, just the carriage. There I go rambling again. I get so amped for this program. Hopefully, I get to see it in person. But overall, this was a great outing for her because she's number one in unofficial Japanese nationals. If you don't count Amber, like she's first in the Japanese. And so I just need to see this at Worlds. And in third place was Kaori Sakamoto from Japan. I don't even know why I bothered because the rest were from Japan. But anyway, so she managed to go from fourth to third place, which is awesome for her. And so she had someone of a redemption skate in the free program. She had mentioned during an interview recently that she's actually, more focused this year on the Olympics coming up, which makes sense. I mean, she's pretty much won almost everything, I think, except the Olympics so far. So I can see why she might be thinking more to the future. And so overall, she's just so endearing. Like seeing her laugh at the board, everything about her is awesome. So let's get to talking about the rest, other than how awesome she is. As for Kaori Sakamoto for her short program, I could not believe how this went. So she opened up with the typical beautiful floaty double axel. And I thought for sure she is not going to win during this competition. But then she fell, and I had this playing on, like in the background at work, typed up my evals. I had actually only turned it on when she had skated just by happenstance. And it was living large, figuring like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna go home soon and watch this. Yes, I can't wait. I think I'm gonna even have a cookie. And then suddenly she fell, and I gasped so loud, and my door was open. And people must be used to me making noise because no one actually seemed perplexed by me gasping loudly in my office. But anyway, she also apparently fell on a different jump. Like, so she found the triple toe during her practice. And so she said in an interview that the past 3 weeks just have not been good for her when it comes to training. And so I don't kind of know what's going on there. And, maybe some of this has to do with jet lag. But her reaction to Kiss and Cry, that really broke my heart. And that was just hard to just witness. And so, yeah, that was just really tough. And it was just overall a tough short program in general for most of the women here. Her free program felt like a redemption skate. It wasn't perfect. There were some under rotations. There was a lot of fighting throughout it, but she was still able to just basically put up a fight. It felt just like a redemption after the short program. And it just made me happy for her because she seemed so disappointed in herself after her short program. And so I was glad that she got to leave here knowing that there was an improvement. And I think I'd read that she just had felt tired at some point, which would make sense. I feel like everybody maybe felt a little tired at this competition, but she just showed, like, here's why I am the world champion, well, 3-time world champion, because she was just able to, pull it together the next day. Again, it wasn't perfect, but for me, it was just magical because she was able to, kind of regroup. And she did put on a performance. Like, even though she was fighting the whole time, she really did, have that musicality. And just overall, I feel like maybe I'm starting to like this program a little bit better. I keep saying that with each time I watch it. I think because each time she's just able to sell it a little bit more, even if it's not going perfect. Now, it's not one of my favorite programs. Like, if she said, hey, I'm changing it today, I'm like, okay, good. But still, I do like that she is trying something different for herself, and maybe she'll go back during the Olympic season and get like a Benoit special. So she has Japanese nationals coming up, and we'll see if she reclaims the title. She probably will. She'll probably regroup by then, but I'm excited to somehow find a way to watch it. In fourth place was Wakaba Higuchi. Please let me get to see her skate in person. I just keep thinking that every time she skates. But anyway, she had a redemption in her free program, which I'll talk about a little bit. Overall, this was still positive for her. Especially since she hasn't been to the Grand Prix final since I think about 2017, 2018, somewhere around there. So hopefully this makes a statement. And she was up against such, a tough set of like amazing women skaters. So she came in fourth here, which is amazing. So for Wakaba short program, I knew it wasn't going to go well because I spoiled for myself because I kept reading about how the women mend. And so it didn't matter. Like, when she fell on that combo, I had like the most dramatic just yell. And like, it shook my whole house. Like, dogs were everybody was just displeased. And then suddenly it hit me. Oh my God, she didn't finish that combo. And then Mark mentioned it. For some reason, just Mark's confirmation of it made me gasp loud, which then caused everyone to just get all like riled up. And so I knew this was all coming. And I still just was shook. Regardless, though, like, she was still on fire for her step sequence. Like, you wouldn't have known she just had those mistakes by how amazing she did towards the end. Like, she's someone else who just didn't let the performance go. And also, I really want to mention that her double axel was just so effortless. Like, the Japanese women's double axels are just amazing. Wakaba had such a redemption skate for her free program. Everything, I think almost everything was clean except she did get an explanation, kind of edge warning on the triple flip. And for her first combo, I think it's a triple Lutz, triple toe. It's the first time she's received credit, like full credit all season. Overall, this was just an amazing skate for her, especially when she got to the step sequence. It was just amazing, on fire. And it looks like she sped across the ice. And so I'd be interested to see kind of anyone that attended if they noticed, like, it just seemed like she took over the whole damn ice rink and quickly. So I'd be interested to see kind of what someone who attended's opinion was. However, her PCS was like a 65. I would like to formally call the cops about this. Like, why? And I know, like, all of us kind of beat the dead horse of complaining about like one PCS versus another. This is a hill I will die on, that her PCS was too low. In fact, I'm just going to perseverate about this. I might like walk outside and be like, oh yeah, her PCS was too low. Like, no, someone call the cops. It wasn't right. Like, that was a fire performance. It was just beautiful. She has the amazing skating skill. Nope, nope, nope. Higher. It should have been much higher. In fifth place was Hana Yoshida. It's interesting because when I watch her without kind of the stacked Japanese women film, I'm like, oh, she's good, she's great. I mean, she's a great skater, so just please don't get me wrong about that. But if you watch her with all the other Japanese women. Yes, she has amazing skating skills, but just she doesn't have there's just something missing. And I don't know exactly maybe what it is. Maybe just some kind of like connection with the music. Maybe I just don't like her programs as much. I don't know. I mean, she has a lovely personality, lovely skater. But just comparing her with the rest of Japanese women, it's just something sticks out. And I can't quite place it yet. And it might actually be when, like how all the other Japanese women just kind of float when they skate. I don't know. I just have to watch it again, I think, to just see exactly what I mean. For Hana's short program, she had her triple triple combo where there was an edge call on the Lutz, and then it was also called at a Q, and her triple toe had a step out. Her triple loop was at a Q, but she did get a level 4 on everything. She also seemed a little bit more nervy and cautious during the skate. Like usually, she seems much more kind of like powerful and ready to attack. And not that she didn't have power, but usually she's just seems much more like in attack mode when it comes to this program. And she just wasn't herself during it. It seems like either the jet lag or just the nervousness of the competition really got to, a lot of them here. And, it was just uncharacteristic of her. And one thing that Mark pointed out is that she tends to do a triple Lutz here when most of the other women will do a triple flip. And I am curious of why she picks then a jump that Mark had said would be a lower base value, especially when she's someone that can do like the Ultra C elements of the triple axel. So I'm not sure if that jump is a struggle for her, and she puts it easier to set herself up for success or what. For her free program, I felt like she skated cautiously here more than I'm used to seeing. In fact, actually now it's clicking with me what sticks out. So in reference to what I was talking about earlier, her compared to the other Japanese women, she seemed a lot slower this time around, more cautious. Just, yeah, she did the triple axel, but I thought she was gonna, like hit the boards. But anyway, that's just me jumping topics. Sorry. So she just seemed much slower. And I don't think she's usually this slow, but I would have to like watch her again. She did seem to speed up towards the end, and I'll be honest, I thought it was my internet connection at first, and then I watched it again. And, this could just be an uncharacteristic event where she might just be a little bit nervy and kind of slow down a bit. But she did get the triple axel out as I was like jumping earlier. She did like almost hit the boards, it felt like. And I felt like maybe that may have kind of caused maybe some of the slowness and cautiousness. Either way, just kind of, I like her a lot, but, compared to the other women, there's just something that sticks out a little bit. She's still awesome, but just the other women are just kind of like a league of their own. And she is too, but she's like under the league, if that makes sense. And something that seems bizarre to say in the last place to sixth place was Rino Matsuike. She's just an amazing skater, but just she wasn't, performing at her best this time around. Still performing amazingly, but just not like as for Reno's short program, I, was just thinking right when it started, oh my gosh, these are the most amazing skating skills. Look at those deep edges. And then there was that little stumble, but she corrected and then went into did this beautiful double axel with that amazing outside edge. And not only do we have those amazing skating skills that we've all been like dying happily over this whole time, like her spins are so fast. And I feel like it's been a bit since I've got to see, some fast spins in a competition. But then all of a sudden she fell on that triple Lutz. And I just shouted no. So this time I was at least at home because I had to rewatch all of this. And I was at home and I shouted no when she fell on that triple Lutz. And so Mark had mentioned that she had been anxious in the short programs while she's been on the Grand Prix. And so this makes sense of why maybe like what we keep seeing is the Grand Prix performance just is not as strong as her free program. But I'm just hoping she gets there for her sake, of course, but also I just really want to see this, like her, especially her free skating worlds. So fingers crossed that this is something that I will get to see a worlds because that will be epic and amazing. For her free program, it was still magical. It is one of the most magical programs ever. It wasn't, as magic filled as we've seen in the past. Like it was for like 85 to 90% magical because her amazing skating skills and deep edges and knee bend and just how long she holds a glide on the ice is just unmatched. And this is where we either need to call the police or or submit a letter to somebody because her PCS scores, I was shook when they said on TV that she was getting high sevens, low eights. I don't even understand how someone could just. I don't know how they sleep at night. They just they have to they have to know. Like someone has to know it's not right, right? Like we are anyway. So she made several little mistakes here, but it was still just amazing. And I really hope, and I'm really worried because she came in last year and she's been struggling for short program that I won't get to see her at Worlds. That's one another reason to call the cops. But anyway, I just hope, that she'll kind of pull it all together because I selfishly want to see her. And I think the whole world needs to see her again. I mean, we'll see her in nationals, but I selfishly want to see her in person. Ice dance was a tiny bit unpredictable in a way because of how Piper and Paul fell. But the rest, is exactly what I expected. And so in first place was Madison Chock and Evan Bates, which I'm so excited about. Second place was Charlene Gennard and Marco Fabri. And in third place was Lila Thipfier and Lewis Gibson. I interrupted the programming to share a message from Benoit. And Madison Chock and Evan Bates were the winners here. As I'll just go ahead and admit, like I tend to, I'm very biased because I adore them and love them. They're just the best people ever. And they really deserved to win here. They were clean. Everything was just nearly perfect. And at this point, I think I read that they are tied with, I think, having either of this, having the most medals at a Grand Prix final. And this, I think, is their second. Yeah, this is their second gold. So this was just so exciting. And I was so proud of them for redeeming themselves again since Skate America. And I met sometimes when I watched them skate, I'm like, oh, please don't fall. No getting on a random ice cube. But nope, they proved me wrong and they did amazing. So yay for them. Love Chock and Bates. For Chock and Bates Rhythm Dance, I think they took out another song, so it did feel a little less cluttered. For some odd reason, and I don't know if it's my bias or the way my brain works, I don't seem to mind that thousands of songs within it. I feel like they've just really kind of improved it. It no longer seems like I'm going through my car just turning a bunch of music. They were just to die for during this program. So I have to say at the beginning, there is a part where he lifts her a little bit before the lift. And so I'm just laughing because I'm still trying to learn ice dance lingo. But anyway, he lifts her a little bit before the lift. And that was a little bit almost kind of awkward to the point where I watched it twice to make sure it wasn't my internet connection. Just maybe, not maybe awkward, but more hesitant. But other than that, once he got through that part, they were just smooth sailing. They had such beautiful, deep edges. And I know people always like to say their skating skills aren't great, but I really do feel like they've improved. And I felt like they were going really fast. And I think their skating skills and overall ice coverage has improved. And once again, they just have the most unique lifts. And I actually do think maybe they want to probably think of something to do, when it comes to the hair and maybe to get, parts of the costume is a little bit distracting, her hair just kind of flies around. But it is, very elegant. Overall, this was just, just probably the best that I've seen this rhythm dance. And I'm surprised that many people feel like this maybe should go in second. And I'm not quite sure. And as for their free dance, oh my gosh, they just continue to be so magical in this program. I still feel like that I'm going to put on a swanky dress and go and get an overpriced cocktail. And yeah, I mean, it just transforms you into a different scene. And I feel like she maybe bejeweled her costume more because it just felt even more elegant. But anyway, for this, I didn't see any nerviness or nervous. I don't know why I keep saying nerviness. I didn't see any hesitation. They seemed very confident during this free dance. Like, they came out ready to attack, and they did, and they rightfully deserved their scores. I feel like every detail of this program is just intricately choreographed. Like, everything seems to be on the music. It seems like there's not a whole lot of breathing room in this program, but maybe that's helpful and it gives them not enough time to even think to mess up. And it's interesting. And I think I had heard, I don't know if it was this program or the other one, but Dave Lees had mentioned how he watched Evan skate for like the first time in 10 years. And it was interesting because I found myself during this program, because usually just Maddie kind of like, she's just the front and center and she just, captures you in. But I was like, I'm watching Evan skate also. So that just made me laugh because it reminded me of what it was said on TSL. These lifts in this program, like the first one where he just lifts her and spins, and then that final lift. Whew, these are just amazing. And I apologize, I do not give like the exact names of the lifts. I'm really still trying to get more knowledgeable about ice dance, but to be honest, it's a little difficult because it's hard to figure out why things are scored the way they are. I mean, we all know why, but it's just kind of hard to become like a diehard fan when there's just so much kind of confusion. But anyway, that's my rambling point. Overall, Chockabate did an amazing job here. I am so excited I get to see them at Nationals soon. Hopefully, they will not be sick because they were sick when I saw them at Nationals. And it was really funny because I had with one of my friends who doesn't watch figure skating at all. And I'm like, you just wait, you see them, wait till you see their chemistry. They're going to be amazing. They're going to just be like electric. And then, like, they weren't the best at that time. But regardless, like, I'm so excited to see them. Kudos to them. And in second place was Charlene and Marco from Italy. This was just another good chance for them to show, like, that the Grand Prix France was just, a fluke for them. Because, of course, they redeemed themselves in Cup of China, but now they got to see, like, here we are again. No crazy falls. And so, overall, this was good outing for them. Technically, they're solid. And, even though the robot program may not be my favorite, still, you just cannot beat their chemistry and just how technically solid they are, basically. For the rhythm dance, as we all know, I've complained, not about them, but like about this theme so much to the point where I can't complain anymore. Like, it just, so I apologize for that brevity when it comes to talking about these rhythm dances. So even though I'm not the biggest fan of this, which is not their fault, they still did really, really well. In fact, they get so super close when it comes to their twizzles, and they are very much in sync. Like, they were technically solid here. As for the free dance, I'm still not the biggest fan, as I mentioned, but they're able to really stay in a robot theme the whole time, which has to be complicated. And they're so in sync with their robotic movements, too. I think that maybe they've tried to tweak it a little bit to make it less campy, and that's okay. But it's almost like I was getting used to the camp. I mean, it's still campy, but it's less campy, if that makes sense. But overall, I did have to kind of laugh because Mark kept being like, hey, you guys don't like this program, but it's technically sound. I'm like, well, damn, he's right. And I think actually him saying that was helpful for me to hear and while I was watching the program, because they really are very close and in sync the whole time. No major mistakes here. So awesome for them. And they have nationals and Europeans coming up. Pierre and Gibson were the bronze medalists here. They are the only ones who came in with 2 golds. And so they left here with a medal, which honestly, nothing against them. I just didn't expect it because of, Piper and Paul and all that. So kudos to them. For their rhythm dance, they did not skate as cleanly here, or even as confidently as we've seen in the past. She had bobbled during like the jump and during the first twizzle. And overall, it just kind of seemed a little shaky and just wasn't their usual self. I think as, the program went on, their performance got better, but it was just not as clean as we've seen before. For their free dance, it felt like, an improvement from the short program. It still maybe wasn't as spectacular as we've seen in the past, especially like once you get to the part of Beyonce where they're ready to just like bring down the house. I feel like maybe Lewis was more into it than she was. Like, I appreciated how he got like the crowd involvement, and it really makes me think like us Americans in Boston are gonna be shamelessly like through the roof and go wild over this. And I think, they probably knew what they were doing when they picked this song. Because at first I'm like, "Ugh, we're not gonna care about this." But then I mean, not that we're not gonna care, but we're not gonna like go wild. But once I saw kind of how he got the crowd going, I thought, oh yeah, we're gonna like go wild for this in Boston. Gibson's skating skills, like I find myself actually noticing him more than her. And usually when you watch ice dance, it feels like just naturally the other way. Like his skating skills are amazing. Wow, it is just spectacular. And so I do think she's trying to catch up with him. And of course, it's going to take a bit, but wow. And in fourth place here was Mirage Lajoie and Zachary Lajoie. I know I butchered that one. I'm so sorry. I was going to say Lala. I tried so hard. Anyway, I have always appreciated them, but there was something about this outing, even with that little mistake in the rhythm dance, that made me truly see what everyone has been really talking up when it comes to them. They are just so amazing and powerful and so much speed, so much ice coverage. So for their rhythm dance, yeah, they made the mistake. I think she had, or somebody had messed up, of course, in the step sequence, but regardless from that silly error that I barely noticed, even though I don't like Austin Powers programs, again, everybody's just trying to get through this rhythm dance the best they can and how they can kind of cope with this theme. They put out so much musicality and performance into it, and they are so fast, and I'm not quite understanding why they're not pushed more. And I know I always talk about that part, but just something about this outing just made me think these people are amazing. And they just did a really amazing job for. And as for their free dance, even though I really don't like the cover of the song, I don't know what it is about it. Like, it just kind of reminds me of a certain type of humans I encountered in college, and I can't really explain it. You just have to know the essence of it. But anyway, there I go sidetracking again. They did fabulous. They had so much passion. It is just so interesting for me. Like, they go from the Austin Power silly program to this dramatic, passion filled program. Oh my gosh. And just the end, like glide. I just don't understand. Let's push them up a little bit more. They should not have, to be honest. And I think Piper and Paul did fine for their, actually probably pretty amazing, of course, for their free dance. But I still didn't understand like why they weren't given also kind of a push up. Like why was their rhythm, I mean, their free dance lower than Piper and Paul's? Because this was just a masterpiece. And of course, I will go ahead and admit I am not an ice dance like guru. So there's probably so many things that you could message me and be like, girl, here is all the facts, the reasons why. And I'll be like, okay, I get it. So I'm just going to go ahead and admit that now. But I really want to see this in person. I might as well just say that for like everyone's program. But let's prop them up a little bit more, Canada. Like, what's the deal? And also, I'm pointing into the nothingness. Why were their skating skills rated so much lower than everyone else? I just don't understand. Someone explain it to me like I'm five. Do we need to call the cops or not? I also went on the cops rant, but I forgot to even mention one of my notes that managed to survive. I ended up losing a lot of my notes for what I wrote about these programs, so that may be why I seem a little bit more ADHD than the usual. But they had so much speed going into their twizzles, and they were so in sync. Like, it was just so amazing. But anyway, time to move on from them. Still thinking about calling the cops because their skating skills are not one of the lowest. And in fifth place was Piper Gillis and Paul Pierre from Canada. This was such just a disappointing and just kind of heartbreaking moment. Like, I know I'm a Chock and Bates biased fan, but I didn't want them to win that way. Like, I wanted Piper and Paul to give them like a run for their money. Like, it was just sad. And kudos to them for being able to come back after that in a free dance and put on a performance. Like, I don't remember if I think Mark had mentioned something like everything they've been through. And it just really made me sad just to think about that. I mean, they're gonna go on and do nationals, probably amazing, and even worlds. They're gonna give everybody a run for their money.
But I was just, hoping that, I wanted them to, not lose the chocolate mates this way, to be honest. Like, this was just heartbreaking. And I don't know why I'm getting kind of sad, just so sad thinking about it because really, I'm sure like they're going to regroup and be fine. But, and also, I think I'm just sad to see like all the people who adore them, like their sadness over it. But just to kind of reframe, thinking about how they came back from that fall and did amazing for the free dance. For their rhythm dance, they started out strong. It was actually, as a talking bass fan, it was making me a little nervous at first. And then, oh my gosh, he like clipped the boards. Like this wasn't, I don't know if this was anything they could have even prepared for. It's not even anything you feel like could be attributed to like anxiety or like not being well trained. Like this was just a fluke. Like it was just surprising. Like in fact, I think it was right when they were talking about like fall and he fell. But anyway, like I was actually at work and Fridays are my admin days. I was typing up my evaluations, had it on in the background. And then suddenly you hear Mark's like his devastation, and I look over, I'm like, oh, what? And it just made me laugh because once again, I'm like gasping in my office. And nobody seems to notice here. I'm like, huh, am I always like talking to myself or doing something in my office? But anyway, in my office, that makes people just like kind of tune me out. But anyway, it was just devastating. Like I just mentioned, I know I keep perseverating about that, but it was sad. And for them to keep going on and not make any mistakes after that, that is a huge testament to them. And that just shows how mentally and physically strong they are. And also, once again, Piper did not get like pulled down. So that girl's strong. Oh my God. Like she could probably just beat us all up because like so much strength it takes when someone's falling down with you to not fall down as well. And for their free dance, I feel like they've really sold me on this program. Like, I think they skate this much faster than they do their rhythm dance. So while I was just talking about how, technically solid their rhythm dance was before the fall, one thing I did notice, and I kept wondering, is this my internet connection? And I rewatched it when I got home. They just felt so slow. But for this felt very fast. In fact, I felt like they may have skated their free dance faster here than they did at Skate Canada and Cup of China. And one thing I really liked, like there was just so much elegance to this, and they have movements that feel like they were constructed like right on certain parts of the music. And so there are times where I wish I could have seen the lifts because I was so in tune to this program. And then suddenly that damn camera work just focuses in on the most bizarre things. And I just, if I'm into like if I'm in a program and I am just wanting to see how it goes, don't just don't zoom in weird. It really brought me out of it. And then I was like rage typing on my notes about that. Next thing you know, I'm probably missing more. But this was a wonderful redemption scape for them. This is such an elegant program. But regardless, like this was a beautiful redemption scape for them. I don't even want to discount how amazing this was. It's just, I felt like maybe Lala could have been above them. But I did also find it amusing that they were just like, screw it. Like, we know we're probably not going to medal unless something weird happens. So they just changed out their costume. I feel like I would have too. I feel like I would have went like, nope, putting on the sweatpants, not dealing with this. But they're gonna totally give Chock and Bates a run for their money at Worlds and probably four continents also. I wonder, yeah, probably everybody's gonna do that as well. So there'll be a couple more times we get to have the excitement of seeing how they are gonna go up against Chock and Bates. And in sixth place was Evgenia La Perea and Jeffrey Bouchard from France. I'm disappointed with their last place here. I know I was just gushing about Piper and Paul's like free dance, but they made such a mistake. And for this team who skated cleanly to get last place, it just feels bizarre and weird. But that may be why a lot of people kind of struggle with ice dance. Regardless, they were, in last place here and they just had really great, solid performances. I loved hearing their home country cheer for them in the stands. So this was just a good outing for them. And I'm excited also they made it here too. So hopefully they're able to see like, okay, we made it to the final. For their rhythm dance, I felt like it could have been scored a little higher. I just felt like they were just putting on such a damn performance. And I think also, this rhythm dance I've bitched about so much. they were able to kind of get me, I mean, the rhythm dance theme, not their rhythm dance. They're able to kind of glue me in, like get me in trance for it. And so it was just amazing. And I also think it's funny they brought back those Russians. I felt like they had so much energy too and skated so fast. And so I was kind of hopeful, thinking, okay, maybe they're going to place higher. But overall, of course, I think they were fifth, though, at least here. For their free dance, they were so close and speedy with their twizzles. And they also, and I really hate to say it, I really feel kind of guilty saying this. I'm pretty sure Mark said this also, so it makes me feel better. But they look so insanely fast after Piper and Paul. Even though I was just talking about how Piper and Paul like improved the speed for their free dance, they were on a whole different level. And I think they just came at this program just so strong, so fierce. And I feel like this is the best they've skated all season. So it was disappointing for me to see that they, weren't really getting rewarded for how great of a performance this was. As for the men, it was less surprising than probably other disciplines. In first place was Ilia Malinin. Second place was Yuma Kagiyama. In third place was Shun Sato. And for this whole thing, it's funny because people were talking about how the men were menning. And I must be so used to menning that this didn't feel as menning. I mean, there was a splash of men, maybe not as chaotic manly. Anyway, as we all know, Adam had to withdraw from this. So Mikhail got to participate at kind of like almost felt like the last minute. And so let's get to talking about each one. And in first place was Ilya, which wasn't really that big of a surprise here. What was a surprise was maybe the fact he was second for the free program. And actually, Yuma would have won had Yuma not made mistakes in the free, which we'll get into, of course, in a little bit. It seems like he kind of threw every quad in the world, the kitchen sink in the free program. But regardless, this was, another win for him. And I think he's been undefeated this whole entire 2024 year. So it kind of reminds me of Nathan Chen. Like Nathan Chen just kept winning until he didn't that one time. But then luckily he still won the Olympics. So I'm curious to see how Ilya go. I mean, I just don't think others can really match his technical abilities. And so it is just really fascinating to see how his scores line up with others because it's almost scarily untouched. And by scarily untouched, I mean I worry about kind of all the injuries that his peers will get trying to kind of catch up to him. So for Ilya's short program, he came out in a new costume. There is some funny memes online of kind of everybody's reaction to it. Don't know how exactly I feel about it yet. I kind of think he maybe should go back to the other one because at least the other one maybe kind of fit the vibe better. This one, the pants kind of look cool when he's jumping, but I had to laugh because someone was like, "Did he get like a hurricane?" Well, okay, I was making sure I didn't say that. Red. Yep, hurricane. Oh, did he get like hit by a hurricane and hit like get his shoulder taken out? I don't know, but I guess at least he tried maybe to have a different costume. That's so for this program, he was I think almost 12. I think it was like 11.94 points ahead of Yuma, so it was a pretty hefty lead. He had his quad Lutz caught on a quarter, which is surprising. Like I don't think he usually gets that many calls. And his step sequence was only a level 3. I continue to really like this program, and I think also after seeing it in person at the Extreme on Ice show, you can see just the effort he's been making into his skating skills. And so I think this was maybe the PCS was a little bit higher than it should have been compared to Yuma, but still, this was just, rightfully in the first place at that time program. As for Ilya's free program, I can kind of see why he tried out, like, let's do 7. Well, he did 6 quads, but he repeated one, so he did 7 total quads. But it just didn't go well at all. Like, there was the fall on the quad Lutz that was also under rotated. And then, and like every single quad that I'm looking at was either like a Q or a under rotation. Like even his quad axle. Now that I didn't quite see. The others in real time, you could tell that they were a little bit tiny bit under. But that one, like, even when I watch it in all of its magnificent glory, I'm still not quite able to see it. But Also, just him kind of throwing all that technical stuff in the program, kind of like throwing spaghetti at the wall, really did seem to kind of under the performance aspect to like once he got to the part where he's like screaming like I'm a vampire, like was like "Rawr," that's where he kind of came to life. But he still also just looked very tired and exhausted. And I was a little bit nervous as he went into the backflip because I thought, oh my gosh, this program really hasn't gone how he planned. And he seems a little tired, but luckily he did not fall on his face. But I think after watching him on Extreme on Ice, I can see that. I think he does have that backflip fairly mastered well. And he had mentioned in an interview afterwards that he just kind of played it out to see how all the technical aspect would go and that he, may lower it or may change it. But regardless, like it just wasn't the best. I'm really hoping that he can kind of channel back how he did at Worlds when we were all just like shocked watching all that go down. And he was still able at Worlds to, put on a performance as well. But I'm excited to see this program in person. And also, I keep saying about literally everyone, he also got a new costume. And this costume I can get behind. It is fairly cool. And in second place was Yuma, and this has to be devastating for him, not to the fact he was in second place, but the fact like if he hadn't have made some of the mistakes in the free program, he could have won. He had mentioned in some interviews that he felt nervous during both the short and the free program, and I've kind of noticed that and have tried. I've actually pretty much kind of waited to see if he mentioned that's how he was feeling. Because I always want to be careful and not kind of over psychology into this world. But now that he's mentioned it, I'm like, okay, I was correct. And I'm not sure kind of what's going on. Maybe, I think this is his first season back after, well, I mean, he had the first season back after the injury. And so this is his next season back after the injury. And so this might be just, just difficult for him. And also, I do know he's been doing interviews for a bit and talking about trying to get like caught up with Ilia in the technical world. For Yuma's short program, he had the fall on the quad sow cow, and it shook me because that's usually his perfect, like that's like his money jump. Regardless, though, he didn't let it detract from the performance, and he also, was able to land the rest of the jumps. It is just such a beautiful program, and it's funny because it hit me that I was complaining about, a remake of The Sound of Silence, and here's this version, but this version feels less like the type of humans that he encountered. That anyway, I'm just rambling at this point, but anyway, so Yuma overall just did such a beautiful turnaround for that program. And it is so, disappointing that he fell on the South. Not to me, but just you can tell he beats himself up. Like you can see the disappointment. And it always bothers me to see him so disappointed in himself because really he did such a turnaround. Like some people, they fall and then the whole program's out, but not him. And he still, even despite the fall, he still had the other jumps that were perfectly on the music. And for his free program, I know Oscar, I'm upset about it too. So for his free program, he took his beautiful jump again, the quad sow cow, and doubled it. And I don't know if maybe he was nervous he'd fall on it. And then he had the foot down on the triple flip, and it just had that not happened, he could have gotten the gold. What I am very, very confused about is his step sequence level. Why was it a level? I mean, I've watched it 1,000 times, and I'm trying to figure out like what criteria is missing. I need someone to just explain it to me like I'm 5, or do we also need to call the cops about this? I don't know which police we'd be calling, but anyway, like it is just that program is just so amazing. Like it's also a different style for him. Like I know Woski, and so it's just a different style for him, but he does it so well. He's so versatile, and it really breaks my heart for him because I know he beats himself up. Just you can just tell like in the interviews that he's just disappointed in himself. That's all. He playing psychologist is really something that he just pretty openly does. And I hope he's able to just kind of learn from this outing. And I also, I bet Carolina Coster is a great resource for him and how to kind of get him back and kind of like reboot after a, less than stellar outing. But like everyone else, though, had mistakes too. But I think I'm just was wanting him to win the gold. I love Ilia, but I just have such a soft spot for Yuma and just wanted him to get to have something that he's been working towards. And in the third place was Shun Sato. And this was overall a good outing for him. He had some mistakes, but something I just noticed that he continues to work on his artistry. Now, if you look at him against Yuma, it's, just kind of night and day, but still, both programs here, I feel like he's continuing to improve on this. So for Shun, he fell on his opening quad lutz, which surprised me. He was still able to keep it together for the rest of the program now. One thing that's unfortunate though is I tend to like classical programs. I like a wide variety, but for some odd reason, like his programs don't really fully stick out to me. Like I think maybe he needs to probably have like one classical program and one different program. Like maybe if he could just make it a little bit more unique. One thing I do think's difficult is just kind of seeing like his disappointment in himself, and hopefully, he's able to see like even though he had to fall. I mean, it was such a hard jump. Like many is just common. Like they're gonna fall on these quads. As for his free program, first, I absolutely love that Team Japan was there for him. Like they scanned the audience, and it was just so awesome to see them there and how supportive they are. I also love it. I don't know if it was Team Japan or maybe some fans or maybe a combination of all of it. There were people that happily screamed every time he landed his jumps. And one thing I do like he remember is he flew on the ice, and it was amazing to watch because I can only imagine just what it's like to see him in person, like that much ice coverage. And so he did fall on the quad flip, but then he really recovered beautifully with a quad toe loop and triple toe loop. Just overall, despite that fall, he was able to persist on. And I'm hoping he was able to see, like, okay, I may have made that mistake, but I moved on from this. But regardless, like, I love that he had that team there watching him. And I also just like to watch him skate, even though I know, like I was mentioning, like the classical programs can be boring. He's still so precise and just so speedy. And, I think if he just got like a mixture of programs, it would just be amazing to observe. In fourth place was Daniel Grassl. He had some under rotations called at this time for both of his programs. He had a new short program and a new costume. And for his free program, he now has leg warmers on, which is interesting. And in fifth place was Mikhail Shaidorov from Kazakhstan. And, part of me was hoping he would medal. And I get why he did. And, he really lost a lot of his levels in the free program. But I think just because he's from a smaller federation and, you think about Dennis 10, and also, there was a touch of underscoring there. I was really hopeful. And he just comes off like a very wholesome human. When the skate sweepers gave him the teddy bear and he hugged her, it was just really sweet. So I do think, though, over time, he's going to be probably a force to be reckoned with. Like, he's probably going to make Ilia have a run. I feel like both of them are just going to probably out like technical content each other. And what's also awesome is that, he really didn't have that much of a notice, I think, that he was going to be skating here. And so he probably thought, oh, I'm just going to do my nationals next, and that's it. But then he was able to, perform as well as he did here. And I also find it funny that I think he had tagged Ilia in it on Instagram about how basically they are a Q skater. And I found it funny. And I was just like, I'm amused that they're able to kind of joke about it together. For his short program, I find it's just such a powerful program. I think he, puts on more of a performance here than he does in the free program a little bit. He was just so solid. Like he actually was, in third place after the short program, which made me optimistic he'd get a medal. But he opened up with this amazing quad lutz triple toe. Everything was just solid. He did have a time deduction, so I'm confused about that. I'm telling you, there's times I think people will get a time deduction and they don't. And then there's times people get one. I'm like, where did that happen? And even rewinding, I do not know what it is about me that I cannot properly pick up on a time deduction. It's just part of my existence somehow. So for his free program, he immediately went down on that quad lutz. I have to laugh because some of my notes kind of saved. And then I wrote down on quad lutz. No, he had amazing recovery afterwards. Like I squealed with delight at the triple axel quad salchow. I just love when, there's new technical stuff out there. And in an interview, actually, Ilya had mentioned that he was watching him in a skater's lounge and he really wanted him to land that combination and how proud he was of him being able to do it after that initial mistake. I just love that they're bros like that. And then also, it just shows how wholesome, like both of them are, but also Ilya. A lot of times I think of Ilya as like the swagger he has, but kind of the things I've observed at the skating shows I've seen him in person and just kind of with his peers. He overall is fairly wholesome actually and just, cares about skating and other skaters also. Anyway, back to Miguel. He lost so many levels. He just kind of get that under control. I do think he was a little bit underscored here, and I was amused at the audience. Like I kind of appreciate when an audience shares their disgruntlement, and I wondered, how much of that was them, reacting to the fact he was placed under Grassl. But also, though, I did hear that maybe the audience enjoyed Grassl, so who knows? But regardless, like, I love the passion, and I also love how his coach was even just like, not exactly right. But his coach also did the right thing by telling people like, "Ooh, okay, let's hold it together a little bit." But it's very telling that he is able to really get a whole audience in for someone who's so young and from a smaller federation. And here everyone was ready to just call the cops or fight someone in the parking lot because he was scored so low. So I'm excited just to see him and Ilya go toe to toe. And hopefully he gets just some of those levels under control. And he probably will over time. And in last place was Kevin Amos from France. And part of this was bittersweet because while he did, make a lot of mistakes, it was positive to see him really coming back from each of those mistakes. And I try so hard not to let like my psychologist brain bleed in, but luckily I kind of like wait for someone to say something that clues me in. He's pretty much, admitted that he was also happy with himself because in the past he felt like he wouldn't have done as well. He would have maybe let it fall through and then he was able to come back. And that, was just really hopeful to see. And I don't know what it was about this outing. Who knows? And also, apparently, this is maybe where he learned to skate. I think they were mentioning. So while it is sad that, like, where in his home country where he learned to skate, he didn't perform that great. The fact he was able to hold it together, to me, that's huge. And I know, like, sometimes I play fuzzy psychologist on here, and I really try not to because skating is something that I watch because it gets me kind of out of kind of how kind of the darkness sometimes of all the stuff that we are, privy to knowing as a psychologist. But sometimes you just can't help. Like, sometimes, unfortunately, these do seem to mesh, but that's my ramble. Overall, he really, for both programs, was able to keep so much of the performance aspect that we have seen gone downhill when he makes mistakes. And he also, for both programs, did not look checked out. Because that is something that we've seen in the past where he has maybe like bizarre landings, but not this time around. So I'm hopeful that he's kinda gonna persist, that he's gonna see this as like a blip, a hiccup, and move on from there. For his short program, he had immediately, 2 falls off the bat on the quad and the triple axel, but he was able to get it together for his combination. And like I'd already mentioned, he still, oh my gosh, he put on the performance as if he did not fall. Like, that, keep in mind, like, that was after he had squeaked out a combo. Like, it wasn't perfect, but he squeaked it, which I don't think we would have seen in the past. But anyway, like, he still seemed to really kind of entrance everyone there with just his overall skating skills, musicality, and just the step sequence at the end. So it was just really positive to see. And I'm also glad that we got to witness that beautiful program. Like if you just chopped it up and just only watched it like halfway through, you'd be like, that is perfect. And for his free program, like once again, I didn't care that his performance was filled with mistakes because he fought so hard and put on a beautiful performance still. I do love though that he confidently went into that like quad toe loop. And even though he only probably did like I think a double toe loop when he was supposed to probably do a triple toe loop, still like he held it together and he helped to get her to do the quad toe loop, and he had a pretty horrible axis on his triple lutz, but he still managed it, and then, like, recovered well for, like, a triple axel, double axel combo. Oh my gosh, he had this beautiful Ina Bauer into the triple axel. So once again, like, yeah, this isn't like what we've been seeing at Skate America because somehow the power of Texas, of all things, is like cleansing for Kevin. But regardless, like, it's still, to me, I'm optimistic compared to what we saw at this time last season. So it also sounds like, though, we need his, I don't know if his boyfriend was there, but let's get him because I know that's why he performed. Well, one of the reasons he attributed to why he performed so well at the last one. So fingers crossed because I still have not got to see this man skate in person. So I know I keep saying I want to see everyone at Worlds, but I do. I need to see him at Worlds because that would be amazing. Papa Docs and Cizeron announced their retirement. It wasn't a surprise, but we all still reacted as if it was a surprise just because it was just something we knew was coming, but hoping. I went back and watched their skating and I miss them, but I understand there may be some friction there. I don't know the whole story and I don't want to speculate. I'm going to kind of wait to see what all information comes out there before I kind of go into more details. But regardless, lucky you people who ever got to see them skate in person. Sasha Trusova did an interview where she hinted that she would like to be able to be eligible for the Olympics if she's able to do so. And I miss Alexandra Trusova. I miss her grit. And so I don't know if they'll be able to go to the Olympics though. And so and I also don't know like if they're not able to go to this Olympics, honestly, how much she's going to be able to go to the next one. And it is such a deep field in Russia that I think it'll be very difficult, but we'll see how she does if they're able to go, of course. ISU announced that they'll now have reciprocity with other organizations when it comes to suspensions and expulsion of athletes and coaches. And that's a good thing because I've always wondered, like, well, just because Skate Canada does something, does that mean ISU will do something if someone tries to get to, to a different country? But it sounds like they will also have this same disciplinary actions. Hainan Lee from South Korea was allowed to skate again and participated in the Korean qualifying, one of the many qualifying series events actually. And she went from 10th to 4th place. I watched her short program. It looked, actually I watched both programs and both looked fine for where she's at now. She seemed to be pretty gassed out though. For the free program, understandable because she hasn't competed in a bit. And so she will be at 4 continents, barring that there hasn't been any changes in her case. Junwon Cha also competed at the qualifying event and came in first place. One of the things that was pretty concerning though is, there's a time I don't remember, it's been a couple of weeks since I watched this. If it was I think it was during the practice run through maybe, where you can just tell his ankle was still bothering him. So I'm not quite sure like why they still had him compete in this, why he couldn't maybe get a pass. And I don't know if it's like written rules, you can't ever, 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 but hopefully he is able to hold it together. Ilya made it to an SAT prep course question, which is so cool. There was a report going around the Russian media that Alina Zagitova was fined 197 times for traffic violations within the year. I don't know if that's a translation error, but girl, what is going on? You used to skate and do jumps. How does your brain know? What? Castle Island Brewing Company came out with a lager just for, well, not just for, but in the spirit of Worlds called Creative Execution. And even though I'm not a fan of the style beer, I'm like, I know I'm one of those IPA people, and not New England IPAs, but like other IPAs. I would still happily try this, and I'm hoping it's still around by the time Worlds comes out. I'm hoping like it's not just going to be kind of get you amped up for it and not be there because I will. I'm totally going to shamelessly have one and try to keep the can somehow and not look suspicious on the airplane. But anyway, beside all that, that is exciting though that they're able to get others in the community kind of championing and excited for this event as well. Like I'm hoping it's going to be huge. There have also been some clips shown from Yuzuru Hanyu's show. I haven't got to see it yet, but that's something that I'm just going to put on my radar. And I'm hoping I get to see. I've seen like maybe one clip, but I really want to just see the kind of the full thing. so I can talk about it in more detail because I just don't feel like I have enough information. But of course, user is amazing as usual. But I just want to see like the full effect. All right, y'all. Thank you for tuning in to my analysis and commentary about the Grand Prix final. I'll be posting another video soon about the Golden Spin. That one I've been trying to track down as many of the videos as I can. A lot of them are hit with copyright strike, but I'm hoping I can find more videos so I'm not just kind of talking about the ones I got to see, like I had to do at some competitions earlier on. And then I'll also, maybe the following week, we'll be doing a video about just kind of summarizing like the key fun points of this Grand Prix series. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and see you guys next time.